Alright, it is time for all you crazy people who somehow enjoy this to listen to Papa Thor read you Lostbelt 2. Let us get started with our prologue. I repeat, I am a mage from proper human history. Please, come find me at the following coordinates. This is Baldanders, the Wandering Sea.
The Wandering Sea? Wandering Sea? The Wandering Sea? Why, that's one of the three great organizations of the Magecraft world. There's the Clock Tower in London, the Atlas Institute in Egypt, and the oldest of them all, the Wandering Sea. It was located on an island from the Age of Gods, hidden in the northern oceans. Why, does this mean it still exists?
Atmospheric analysis complete. Nitrogen, oxygen, argon, and carbon dioxide levels all green. The mana in the atmosphere is almost identical to levels in the 21st century. I'm not picking up any harmful trace substances either.
So we still have breathable air, even in this creepy, bleached world. Well, that means we can park the shadow border and go have a look for ourselves. What do you think, Gouda? Doesn't that sound intriguing? Stepping out into a world of sheer nothing in every direction? Of course it does. First, we'll go out and get some fresh air. Then we'll look for food.
I'm kind of interested, but you still haven't told me what this Wandering Sea actually is.
Cryptic silence. Empty smile.
You don't know either, do you?
Of course I do, you dolt. Ward-off music is not a man to pretend to know something he doesn't. The Mages Association isn't a monolith, I'll have you know. Just because I used to work at the Clock Tower doesn't mean I've ever been to the supposedly living Wandering Sea in the North Sea.
Oh, so you've only heard rumors. I thought you were from some big important family, old man.
Don't you call me that, Double Chin. If I must spell it out for you, then here it is. The Wandering Sea of Baldanders is the first enigma ever discovered in the world of Magecraft, and it will be the last to be puzzled out. It's an island so mysterious and full of mystics that even such a gifted mage of an incredibly prestigious bloodline as myself may not even set foot on it.
It's true. That all fits with what's in Caldia's database. It says that although the Mages Association has been around since the start of the AD era, it also split into 3 different branches shortly after its inception. The mages who settled in London evolved with the times and focused on developing magecraft over the course of history. That faction went on to become the Clock Tower, the largest and most powerful magecraft organization in the world. Its members include the Animosphere family, the founders of Caldia, and Mr. Gordolf here.
Quite so. Here in the 21st century, the Mages Association and the Clock Tower are all but synonymous.
The next major faction is the Atlas Institute in Egypt. They're dedicated to perfecting alchemy. We actually infiltrated their headquarters once during the Sixth Singularity. It was a huge research complex, almost like a giant crypt, built deep underground. And as easy it was to get in, it was hard to get out. The Atlas Institute's ironclad rule is that the technology created there must never leave. But Caldia's first director was granted an exemption thanks to the Atlas contract. The technology he was able to take from the Atlas Institute enabled him to complete Caldia's. It was also the Atlas Institute that presented him with the Void Reality Observation Device, Paper Moon, one of the finest mystic codes ever made.
Indeed. They seldom poke their noses out of their little hole in the ground, but I'm told they do converse with lords, albeit as little as possible. They may be a heartless bunch who only care about weapons and technology, but they can be rather useful if you play your cards right.
And finally, the last faction is the Wandering Sea. The Baldanders, said to be somewhere in the North Sea. However, the most I could find out about them was a brief overview, even in Caldia's extensive files. It's said that their cardinal rule is to only recognize magecraft from the Age of Gods and refuse to accept any advancements or alterations urged by civilization. In essence, their ideology is the exact opposite of the clock towers.
Indeed, refusing to accept progress in magecraft means refusing to accept consumer civilization. The Wandering Sea's philosophy of magecraft is fundamentally incompatible with modern human society. That is why they keep their gates firmly shut, and why they seldom add to their number.
So in other words, they're a bunch of old fuddy-duddies obsessed with magecraft so ancient it has to be measured with carbon dating. That said, they do open their gates just once every year to try and recruit promising new talent. But even among mages of the Clock Tower, the number who actually make it to the Wandering Sea can be counted on one hand. Now, do you see my point? I'm saying the Wandering Sea is every bit as secretive as the Atlas Institute, just in a different way. No one from the outside has ever been able to get the full story, the reason being...
As the name suggests, the Wandering Sea is always on the move. Most who know of it believe it to be a floating island somewhere in the North Sea, but it is in fact the very opposite. The Wandering Sea's headquarters were built before the AD era began, and they never move at all. It is instead the sea in which they are located that moves around, a world unto itself in many ways. That is almost certainly why its location still remains a secret, even in the 21st century. Land that moves around while placing mystic textures on itself. I see. That would make it its own independent singularity. It would also explain how it was able to escape whatever turned the Earth's surface into an endless white desert.
All this time, they've been turning their noses up at us, but the moment things go south, they don't have any issue sending us a distress signal. Some successors to true mystics they turned out to be. They should try taking a page from our book. We're the ones who made it through Russia by the skin of our teeth, with no outside help. We're the ones who are currently flailing about with no plan.
At least you understand the situation's still pretty dire, I guess.
Given the present circumstances, it looks like the people of the Wandering Sea have decided to bend their rules in order to offer us a lifeboat.
At any rate, Administrative Advisor Holmes, I have a question for you. I would like to be as certain as possible. What do you make of this? Can we trust that their distress signal is genuine?
I'm afraid I can't speak to that. What do you think, Da Vinci?
It could go either way from the looks of it. This transmission isn't part of the clock tower standards, but its wavelength is pretty close to the waveforms that the Atlas Institute uses. Since we don't have any data about the Wandering Sea ourselves, I can't really give you a definitive answer. Still, I can verify that there's definitely something to be found at these coordinates. Whatever their story is, if there's a Magecraft workshop there, I'd really like to at least check it out. I know that we managed to stretch things with the materials we got in Russia, but there are still limits to what the Shadow Border can do. What I really want to do is retune the whole frame from scratch, but I doubt that we'll be finding much in the way of materials considering the entire world seems to be an empty wasteland.
These coordinates from the Wandering Sea would put us in those seas west of Norway. We could go through the Scandinavian peninsula, or turn north at Germany and cut across Denmark. We just left Moscow heading west, so it will take us a few days to reach them regardless of our route. Assuming that the border can convert the mana in the atmosphere into electricity, that just leaves the question of food. What if we go to the Wandering Sea via Zero Sail? Can't we just, pop over there?
No zero sails. As technical advisor, I expressly forbid it. Even if we are going to run into another one of those storm walls along the way, we need to stick to the surface as much as possible.
But why? And did you just say there are more of those storm walls? Explain yourself, technical advisor. If there's another storm wall in our path, doesn't that mean running straight into another Lostbelt?
We don't have any other choice, Goidoff. Not with the two big problems we're facing. First, there's the small matter of the Wandering Sea living up to its name. These coordinates they sent us are all over the place. Literally, in fact. They're in a constant state of flux, nothing definite or precise. With coordinates like these, it would be very risky to try zero sailing there with the paper moon. So until and unless we go to the Wandering Sea directly and forge some kind of connection to it, a long-distance zero sail is out of the question. Second, and this is the real problem, we don't have the energy. Yes, Holmes so helpfully suggested converting mana into electricity as if it were a simple matter, but that can only get us so far. The conversion rate isn't efficient enough, so we'd end up spending more power than we can produce, which would make a long zero sail trip fatal. After all, no more power means no more working life support systems, and I don't know about you guys, but I sure don't want to be out in this bleached white world all by myself.
Good point. The logic walls we've put up in the void space do use a lot of power. At our current energy levels, I don't think the border could last 2 hours there. And like Da Vinci said, we don't even have the exact coordinates we need.
So then what? Are you saying we need to enter another Lostbelt if we're going to reach this possible hope for salvation? Where is this new Lostbelt anyway?
If we use a typical world map, then the entire Scandinavian peninsula is covered by one of these storm walls. Another half a day or so of driving, and you should all get to see the closest thing to the edge of the world for yourselves.
I take that to mean this white, featureless ground will continue until we exit Russian territory, then. At any rate, we have 2 possible routes to the Wandering Sea's designated coordinates. One that takes us across the Scandinavian peninsula, and one that brings us out to sea via Poland and Germany. Da Vinci, in your estimation, which of these gives us our best chance? Should we go by land or by sea?
I think making a sea voyage would be a lot to ask of the border. We could perhaps get through the Strait of Dover, but to be honest, I'd rather we keep our distance from the British Isles since we have no idea about the state of the oceans just now. So what I'm saying is, I think the overland route's the best choice.
Good grief. No sooner are we done with one Lostbelt than we're off to a second. Your thoughts on this, Mr. Gouda? Honestly, that's a pretty scary thought. Are there any other regions we could cross? Indeed, I heartily concur, but I promise you we'll have our full support. And to be afraid in a situation such as this is the mark of sanity. Let's just leave it at that.
So, you're set on having us cross the Scandinavian peninsula then, aren't you, Da Vinci? Alright, we've come this far after leaving Moscow, so at the border's current speed, we should reach the peninsula in about 2 days. Very well then, use that time to make sure we're fully prepared. Mounier, if we run into anything, we could use to shore up our defenses along the way, take that opportunity to stop the border, and ensure everything is in good working order. Da Vinci, you look after the little demi-servant girl. I can't have her falling down on the job. Holmes, you come with me. We're going to the solitary confinement chamber.
Solitary confinement? Mr. Gordoff, does that mean...
Of course. I'm going there to interrogate Kadok. He should be waking up any time now. It's time for me to put my brilliant questioning skills to use. When I'm through with him, he'll have told us what the cryptos are, what Voldem is planning, everything. Mark my words.
I want to come too.
Don't look at me like that. You need the right people for the right job. I admit I may not be the best fit for interrogation, but you, even less so. But don't you worry, Kadok may be something of a twisted little brat, but he's still a growing boy. Merely tempt him with food and he'll be putty in my hands. Trust me, one whiff of my creamy carbonara will turn his complexion from sour milk to sunflowers in an instant.
Worry not, Mr. Gouda. I'll see to it that the interrogation doesn't devolve into violence. In fact, I have my own questions I wish to ask him. I have a fairly good idea of the crypto's goal now, and I also believe I know the extent of Kadok Zemlupus's personal knowledge. However, there are still two important things I know very little about. The Tree of Emptiness and that Sirius Light command spell of his. Granted, the latter is something Kadok merely mentioned once and may not be that important.
An emergency alert? What's this all about? I thought there weren't supposed to be any more oprichniki.
We're not out of the Russian woods yet. Something's approaching us at high speed. It's closing in on our port side at over 90 kilometers per hour. Come on, Moonier, floor it before it catches up to us. I can't. We're just about to go uphill. The border can't go any faster. Crap. I'm picking up a heat signature, too. It's an RPG. Impact in 3, 2...
I felt that. Please tell me that wasn't a direct hit, Da Vinci. Damage report. Is the engine intact? Are we going to have to bail in the middle of this race?
I'm sure the damage is negligible and our arm is still perfectly intact. We shouldn't need to do more than wipe off the scorch mark. The Shadow Border's armor is a composite of cutting-edge technology in magecraft theory. Normal weapons can't even scratch it.
That's not what I'm seeing, Holmes. That blast took out one of our armor plates. Another hit like that and we'll be in deep shit.
Eh? Really? Some great detective you are, Holmes.
Then that means... I remember now. This is the same sort of explosion I felt way back. 2 weeks ago when I was just a hapless, albeit handsome man being shot at with an anti-material rifle. This can only mean that Koyanskaya's back to finish the job. It really might be curtains this time.
Oh.
Spare us the trip down memory lane, old man. Come on, Holmes, do something.
Right, my apologies. I'm not used to eating crow. Evacuate all staff in the port side hallway to the engine room immediately. Ms. Kirielite and I will go deal with this attack. On that note, Ms. Kirielite, I would like for you to put up a magical energy barrier in the internal hallway, so as to fend off a possible second round. I trust you're all right with that, Gouda? All right. Go for it, Mash. I'm coming with.
Oh, no, you don't. You stay right here. We can't have everyone running off and leaving the command room.
The hostile entity should reach the border in 50 meters. Putting up visual now.
Ugh. They must think they're hot stuff. Their vehicle must have impressive suspension if they're heading straight at us, though. I didn't think Russia had any race cars like that around. All right, where are you, you little leftover oprichniki? Let's see what you look like. What the actual hell?
That's not a vehicle. It's a person. Someone is approaching on foot. Wait, that silhouette.
Clergy vestments and a Lostbelt servant reading. It's that priest, the one who calls himself Metropolitan Macarius. I woke up when I thought I heard a voice calling me. It was a cold, almost brittle kind of voice. Where am I? I guess this means I'm still alive. There's a dull ache in the back of my head where I got pistol whipped. He sure wasn't playing around. Goddamn cowboy. Shouldn't outlaws be cool and laid back and all that? It's shaking. Am I in a vehicle? This must be the shadow border. I try to assess the circumstances as best I can in this dimly lit place. Looks like they've took me prisoner. They've bound my hands, but now I can move around freely. The anti-magecraft cuffs they must have used on me are lying on pieces on the floor. Did I break them unconsciously while I was out? No, I couldn't have. I know I'm not capable of that. Why are the cuffs so damn cold? Did something freeze them enough to turn them brittle? Or maybe it's her farewell gift to me. Ugh. That the thought even entered my mind makes me sick. I don't have time to get all sentimental. Now that I failed, I don't have the right. Of course, that doesn't mean I'm gonna just waste this opportunity. If I'm gonna make a getaway. Is someone attacking the shadow border from the outside? But the only ones who would do that are the cryptors. Does that mean someone's here to rescue me? No, there's no chance of that. They're here to shut me up. There's no other reason anyone would waste their time on a loser like me. Alright, I can't just sit around and wait for them to kill me. First off, I've got to find a way out of here. After that, who knows? Escaping's all I can hope for now. Once that's done, I'll just have to see where the winds take me.
Damn it, there goes another one! What's the situation?
Mash raised her shield just in time. That one barely did anything. Way to go, Mash!
Oh, whoa!
The hostile servant is still in pursuit on the border's port side. Wait, is he about to fire again? How many rounds did he even bring with him?
I just noticed the NFF services marking on that thing. It must be one of Koyanskaya's weapons. No wonder it was able to damage the magecraft armor. That said, it looks like the priest is all sales sermon and no rod. Like pearls before swine, so too gold before music, I suppose. The only one who could properly handle a modern magecraft weapon like that is Koyanskaya herself.
Wait, what? The hatch is open! Why is the hatch open? Gordov, quick, check the internal surveillance cameras. I think someone opened the border's hatch and got outside.
Wait, there's someone on the starboard ramp.
What? That can't be right! You expect me to believe someone's hanging off the side like this is some sort of action movie? Wait a moment, that's Kadok Zemlupus! Just how many adventure-crazed nuts are there around here?
I thought there was something on us. The signal's heading towards the deck now.
So he's trying to take advantage of the confusion to escape, eh? Come on, Gouda! We're taking that hatch and going up there too. Do not let Kadok get away. I have a mountain of questions I still need to ask him.
Right. You, huh? It figures that you'd show up. You're looking a little less dazed now. Glad to see you're back to your usual happy-go-lucky nonsense. Yeah, looks like you're back up and at 'em too. Yeah? I guess we've both been pushing ourselves to the limit. Takes its toll though, doesn't it? I always felt the pressure before, but it's even worse now that it's gone. Hell, I might as well have had a bag of feathers on my shoulders earlier compared to now. We both knew what we wanted to do, but we didn't really get it.
Enough chit-chat already, Zemlupus. Get back inside the border now, and I'll make sure you're treated fairly under international law. Trust me, you don't want to be stupid and go jumping off a moving vehicle like this. I can tell you from experience that you'll regret it. You'll end up dead and we'll have lost you. Show me that you're willing to help us, and I'll be willing to put in a good word for you with the association.
You don't have to threaten me. I thought there might be a lifeboat or something out here, but there's nothing. Getting out here was a huge pain in the ass, and it looks like it was all for nothing. Once I might have jumped just to spite you, but now I've got a promise to keep. I can't go throwing my life away. You want to interrogate me, right? Fine. I'll tell you everything you want to know. That's a small price to pay for survival. At this point, I don't care what it takes to stay alive.
Excellent. This makes my little insurance trip out here well worth it. Turn around, you idiot!
Kadok!
Rasputin, you son of a... Why, if it isn't Gordolf Music, how very nice to see you again. You too, Master of Chaldea. Allow me to offer my congratulations on successfully taking down Russia.
Let go of him right now!
I'm afraid I cannot do that. I have my own concerns here. You understand, of course. My job was to oversee Kadok Zemlupus's role as a crypter, and that role has come to an end. So I thought I would give him as merciful a send-off as possible. As if Da Vinci wasn't enough, now he's gone and stabbed Kadok in the back too. As a gentleman, I'm honor bound to stop him, but my golf punch will never work on him. Damn it, where's Holmes when you need him? I thought he was always supposed to be 2 steps ahead. Not to worry, Director Gordolf. Eliminating all of you isn't in my job description. Russia is currently my sole jurisdiction, you see. As such, I needed to handle this before you had left the area entirely. I hope that you can forgive the necessity of my resorting to such drastic measures, unbefitting of my age, though they are. I'm afraid I lack Koyanskaya's ability to move between Lostbelts. I'm limited to getting around the same way that you all do. As a middle manager of sorts, I'm not able to go to the next Lostbelt without the Foreign God's permission.
Foreign God, you say? Intriguing. Would you be so good as to tell us more, Metropolitan Macarius? I'm sorry I'm late, Master. Kadok!
Now then, I'd best be on my way. I hope you won't mind my saving the answer to your question for our next meeting, Sherlock. Oh, but before I go, I would at least like to put a stop to this false name you've been using for me. My true name is Rasputin. Grigory Rasputin. That said, I confess that this spirit origin doesn't belong to me. I'm simply borrowing it from a dead man.
I deduced all of that long ago, my dear priest. My concerns are more fundamental in nature. Where did you acquire that dead man? In proper human history, Kodomine Kire's body was cremated. So how did you come to take possession of a dead man without a body?
Oh, I'm sure you'll figure that out sooner or later, Sherlock. That is, after all, what you do. You once called the incineration of humanity a mythological murder case. In which case, go ahead and label this attack the same way. Ask yourself who committed this crime and how. Once you have arrived at that answer, we will meet again. When that day comes, I look forward to you accusing the culprit in person.
Father Kodomine, Rasputin is made off with Kadok. What should we do, Senpai? Maybe if we turn the border around right now...
Don't bother. We'll never catch up. and we can't risk going back into Russia. We'll just have to give up on interrogating Kadok Zemlupus. This was my fault. I should have considered that someone may pursue us. Damn it. I can't believe I got knocked out again. Sneaking up on people and stabbing them is kind of your thing, huh? I think my heart actually stopped for a while back there. Indeed, it did. If it hadn't, do you really think Holmes would have let us escape so easily? No, if he had realized that you were still alive, they would have come back to retrieve you. I couldn't allow that to happen. Not after Kirshtarya asked me to bring you back to Olympus. Is that so? Well, it doesn't matter either way. You wasted your time, Rasputin. Oh? Whether Chaldea kills me or Voldim does it, I'll be just as dead. Now that I've failed, I don't belong with either of them. I'm just going to be an example to the other cryptors. What? What is it? If you've got something to say, then spit it out, father. My apologies. I was just thinking how much easier my job would be if Kirshtarya was that sort of person. At any rate, it's clear what's going to happen to you. You may have lost your right to run a Lostbelt, but you still have your Sirius Light. That command spell belongs to our god. As long as you possess it, your life does not belong to you alone. You no longer have the option of throwing your life away, Kadok Zemlupus. Your fate is to have every last bit of your soul squeezed out of you until the day you die. Yorokobe Shonen. Kadok got kidnapped by Kodamine. Well, enough about that, nerd. Time to jump ourselves into Scandinavia. Let us go into the intro. It's been 2 days since Rasputin, the pseudo-servant, attacked. The Chaldeans are currently on their way to the Lostbelt in Scandinavia. Everything is so white. The words blank slate have never been more appropriate. It's like the entire surface has been reset. Nothing but pure white wherever you look. Everything is gone. Nature, civilization, even the flora and fauna have completely disappeared. No, not disappeared. It's more like they've all been pruned away. All there is to see in every direction is a pure white plain, though there were a few topographical exceptions along the way. It looked like the remains of some buildings, but they appeared to have been warped by extreme heat or destroyed in some kind of shockwave. Whatever the cause, upon closer inspection, one could see that these had once been man-made structures of some kind. This led to Gouda and his allies stepping out of the shadow border to investigate further. The atmospheric composition was normal, the air was breathable, and the gravity was the same as before. There was no need for a hazard suit, or spacesuit, or anything of the sort.
Good thing you didn't have to get all dressed up like an astronaut, huh?
Said Leonardo da Vinci with a cherubic smile.
Look, Senpai, you can see them up ahead. Buildings. It looks like even the buildings have been bleached. And that explains why we couldn't see them at a distance. Those are buildings, right? If there are any survivors here, we should bring them back onto the border as soon as possible.
She trailed off all of a sudden. Probably because what she saw was beyond anything she could have imagined. No one could blame her. Anyone else would have been agape at the bizarre sight before them. The color had been drained out of everything. Some parts of the buildings even looked as though they had been rubbed away with an eraser. The whole thing looked like some bizarre postmodern art exhibit, and it was made all the more baffling by being in the middle of a bleached desert. There were no signs of life anywhere, not even the remains of what had once been alive. It all looked so sterile, especially for ruins. It was the sort of thing you would only see in dreams. Everyone back on the border seeing it on their monitors must have thought that they were looking at footage from an alien planet.
Let's go in. There might still be something inside.
Earth had changed. It had been completely bleached, a planet now totally devoid of life with the exception of the Lostbelts. But even when it had been reset to a blank slate, there were still some places, some buildings, some life forms that had survived. Chaldea decided to call these remnants. Today was the first contact they had with these sorts of remnants, these buildings that had been left behind on this newly blank Earth. Despite the new director's pessimistic outlook, the other staff couldn't ignore the possibility, however slight, that there might still be other survivors. But even though they never did find any other people, their investigation wasn't for nothing. Because they did find signs of life, signs that someone had survived all of this and had been here before them. Here, near the Scandinavian Lostbelt, in what used to be Helsinki, the capital of Finland, were signs in these buildings that someone, somewhere, was still alive. Signs that someone had been living here for days, weeks, maybe even months. Empty bottles, piles of canned food, the remains of a communication device that someone had clearly spent a great deal of effort trying to repair. There was even something that looked like a doll lying on the floor, a sign that a young child had been among the survivors. And above all, they found something that had clearly been left behind with intent.
According to this journal, it looks like somebody was here recently as 2 days ago. The last entry is dated the day before yesterday. It looks like there were 6 survivors at first, but over time their numbers gradually dwindled until... In the end, whoever wrote this journal must have been the last one to disappear. Where could they all have gone?
Unfortunately, though, whoever wrote the journal had excellent penmanship. It was in a language that Gouda could not read. It could have been Finnish, or maybe Swedish. Either way, it may as well have been Greek to Gouda.
Why did this happen to our planet? Why do these invaders from another world hate humanity so much?
If nothing else, those final questions written on the last pages were clear. Why? 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 That's all these people could ask, even as they were wiped away, almost as though they were being punished for seeking meaning in their crisis.
It's time, Master. Let's head back to the border. We're almost to Sweden now. You should rest up for the coming battles.
As they left the remnants behind, one thought haunted each and every one of them. Nowhere was there so much as a trace of blood, a hint of violence. Soon the shadow border will enter the second Lostbelt. Will it be a hellish wasteland inhospitable to life? Or perhaps... So that's what those storm walls look like from the outside.
Yep, finally about to take the plunge into the Scandinavian Lostbelt. And not because we have no other choice like with Russia. This time we choose to do it ourselves. As you all saw, there's a tree of emptiness here as well. Though at this distance, it looks more like a faint pillar of light than a tree.
Yes, quite so. We may not know what it's like on the inside, but we do know exactly what we need to do. This is a lost belt, a place carved out of history, different from our own. There is no telling what horrors may await us there. But once we cut down that tree of emptiness thingamabob, the lost belt will return to its original state, and the storm wall will disappear.
Yep, But I do think that we should put this particular Tree of Emptiness investigation off until later. Our priority is to slip through Scandinavia and get to the Wandering Sea. Depending on what it's like in there, we might be able to just ignore the Lostbelt. If we're going to invade this place, we should do so after we've improved our offensive options at the Wandering Sea. It won't do for Gouda and Mash to be the only two ever risking their necks on the front lines.
I just hope the transmission really was from the Wandering Sea. So, what now? I thought those storm walls were impenetrable.
That we can penetrate using the Shadow Border's primary function. That storm is approximately 2 kilometers wide, so we will cross it via a zero sail.
Eh? You mean we're going to dive back into void space? Come on now. Surely I'm not the only one who was wildly uncomfortable seeing his soul leave his body, was I? I mean, is it just me, or is looking down at your own body in third person a truly unsettling experience?
You're just gonna have to deal, Gordoff.
You're kidding me. You mean you're completely fine with it? Doesn't it bother you having a bird's eye view of your own life?
Oh, of course it makes us all feel sick, but you're the commander now, yeah? So frickin' suck it up, would you? Honestly, I've gotten used to it. I mean, a short hop through void space is nothing compared to a ray shift. Not that I've ever ray shifted myself, of course.
Now don't you start talking back to me, Moonier. Ray shift, schmay shift. Clearly the Zero Sail program that began under my new administration is a far more impressive achievement. Holmes, Da Vinci, prepare the Shadow Border for takeoff.
Indeed, Gordoff. I, for one, am truly inspired after your little speech. And well done on your part, Mr. Moonier. That will be one less thing to worry about during our dive.
Okay, places everyone. Time to strap in for today's out-of-body experience. The good news is, we're not going to dive as deeply as we did last time. We're just going to skim under the surface, so to speak, so that we stick to reality, space, time, and distance as closely as possible. We have to do it like that since we don't have anything tying us to Scandinavia. It'll be like a split-second dive into a two-dimensional plane. Think of it like going scuba diving without an oxygen tank. We just need to hold our breath for a little bit while we make our way through the wall. All set, Gouda? You do know we'll be setting foot in another brand new world soon, right?
Let's go where no man has gone before. Again!
Alright. Then let's go see what's on the other side of this wall. Expanding void reality. Observation device, Paper Moon. Destination, southern Sweden, near Norrköping. Expanding logic formula on Shadow Border's external armor, removing existence verification for reality space. Future prediction, hypothetically prove mirror world plane in 20 seconds. Relaxing space-time friction decompression for 0.4 seconds. All systems are green. Void space may be a calm sea, but as always, don't forget to watch out for big waves. Shadow Border. Untether from reality. Void space dive. Zero sail. Unfurl.
In we go. So everyone, how do you think Scandinavia is going to look? I, for one, think that everything's going to be on fire. Let's go find out together with Section 1, Assault of the Demonic Sword, beginning. I've always hated Sundays.
Is it because I hate my father? No. Is it because I hate my mother? No, it's not that either. When I was little, I wholeheartedly embraced their dreams for me. I really thought everything they talked about would come true. I didn't need to hate them. I didn't even need much in the way of parental love from them. I believed that I would one day reach the sixth imaginary element just as they wanted. I would be the one to make my family's long-held dream come true. I had gained the power I needed to accomplish that. But even so, I hated Sundays. Detested them even. I loathed having to spend all day Sunday at home. The home I grew up in, with my parents. From the time I woke up until the time I went to bed, it felt as though that giant ceiling was crushing me to death. I don't hate my parents. I respect them. I'm proud of them. That much has never changed. So then, what did I hate about Sundays? Report from the computer room. Report from the computer room. So far, this Zero Sail is looking just peachy. Just kick back and enjoy this little voyage through the Sea of Time. We've got 150 kilometers to cross. At our current reduced speed, I think it should take us about an hour or so.
Oh?
Uh-oh, somebody's not happy about this trip. And what happened to all that bluster you were spouting just a little while ago? I know this is only our second voyage, but you should be used to this by now. Am I wrong, Gordolf?
Oh, yes, did you need something, technical advisor? Is it tea time already?
Something you're worried about, Commander?
Of course not. I wouldn't waste time on foolish sentiment. I thought I would feel better after we defeated the servant who destroyed Chaldea, but I don't. At all. My poor four flush. They were the finest private army I ever had, and they may have been a bunch of thugs and hoodlums, but they did their job damn well. After this whole mess is sorted out, I need to pay out their life insurance. Once I can scrape together more than a penny to my name, of course. That said, this way of getting around really is beyond the pale. I'm a man of the land, not the sea. Not that I would hesitate to board a submarine to save humanity, of course. But this... I may be better about seasickness now, but I don't think I'll ever get used to this zero sail nonsense.
So you still feel bad even though you're not seasick? Are you claustrophobic or something?
Oh, fo. No, I'm not claustrophobic. I mean that I don't care for this void space business. It's not something I'm just going to get used to. Let me be clear. Getting used to danger means losing sight of security. Oversights, betrayals, bankruptcy, victories getting revoked by judges, all these sorts of retribution stem from carelessness and arrogance. You can't just assume everything will be sunshine and roses just because things happen to go your way once. Not to mention, verifying the existence of void space may be a great feat, I'll admit, but be honest, you still don't have a clue what it even is, do you?
Well, no, not really, but why are you looking at me, man?
I make it a rule never to get on any machine I can't drive myself, and yet... Void space is something only a tiny handful of mages have ever so much as touched. Just thinking about floating around in there makes me... Oh no, I think I'm about to be sick.
You say that, and yet your complexion tells me that you're feeling just fine. Gordolf, no, Mr. Gordolf, I admire your gumption. The rest of the staff are equally versed in science and magecraft, but you, Director, are certainly a mage's mage. That is why traveling through void space puts you so ill at ease. You are keenly aware of both the benefits and risks posed by the zero sail. And yet, despite that, you're doing your utmost to remain calm and collected. That is truly keeping a stiff upper lip, as they say. Commendable. You must have hit rock bottom quite a few times in your life. Perhaps you are accustomed to being in dire predicaments at this point.
I'm accustomed to nothing of the sort. I never once crossed the finish line in last place, I'll have you know.
Crossed the finish line in last place? I've never heard an expression like that before, Director Gordolf.
Well, of course you haven't. Once you get to be a man of my caliber, Ms. Mash, even the expressions you use take on a special life of their own.
That's the first time he's ever addressed me respectfully.
That's Holmes's way of complimenting you, Doctor. Or Director, even.
I think so too. Mr. Holmes only ever speaks about what he's certain of, after all.
You got that right. That's a hell of a nice way to put it, Mash.
Oh, I see. So that's what that was about. Well, if you both say so, you may be right.
Oh, foe.
By the way, Technical Advisor, what does our itinerary for this voyage look like?
Huh? Director Gordolf, Da Vinci just briefed us about that right after we arrived in void space.
Hang on, maybe he blacked out after we started the Zero Sail?
Oh. I'm so sorry, Mr. Gordolf. We had no idea you had lost consciousness with your eyes open.
What? Come now, don't be absurd. I've handled the G-forces from accelerating to over 250 kilometers per hour, I'll have you know. I say, what about you, youngster? Yes, you, Gouda. Your file said you frequently fall into REM sleep. I believe it even said that you could do it standing up, if I'm not mistaken. Is that some special skill of yours?
That's right. We call it the Gouda Rem Rem.
Eh? No. Wait, I was just kidding about the skill part. Are you people all right? At any rate, you doze off just as easily as I do. Do you remember what that briefing was about? Perhaps now would be a good time to review all that you know while we're at it.
Yes, that is a good point. I'm sorry. But as for Senpai, I do think he went off to have lunch with Foe after we left on the Zero Sail.
You heard the man, Da Vinci. Would you be so kind as to summarize our current situation for him?
Sure, if that's what he wants. All right then, let's go over our immediate itinerary again. We've just entered the Scandinavian peninsula right around here. At the moment, we're still diving through the storm wall. On our current route, we should then emerge here in northern Europe at the southern part of Sweden. It's only a 10-kilometer trip, but since we don't have any connection to Scandinavia, surfacing at our intended destination will come down to a combination of a dice roll and my navigational genius. And since I've got my hands full making sure that our coordinates don't go fluctuating all over, we have no way of knowing if there will be any hostile entities on the other side. So be ready for an even rougher emergence than the one we went through in Russia.
And so, in other words, entering one of these lost belts inevitably comes down to the luck of the draw, eh? And just to make doubly sure, is there any way we could ignore the Scandinavian lost belt and head straight to the North Sea? Certain conditions need to be in place for us to emerge inside of a lost belt, correct? Then why go out of our way to do that? Even if we don't know the Wandering Sea's exact coordinates, if we can just get to the North Sea.
I know, but I'm afraid that's just not possible. We're currently skimming right next to the border between reality space and void space. It's the only way that we can peek into reality from void space, which we have to do if we're going to emerge somewhere we lack a connection to. In addition, the amount of power the shadow border consumes in this mode is directly affected by the amount of real-world distance we travel. I mean, it would have to be given that we're following reality so closely. And at our current power levels, there's no way the border can zero sail for more than 300 kilometers near the mirror world plane. So we have to emerge in the Scandinavian Lostbelt if we're going to stock up for the journey to the Wandering Sea.
I see. This zero sail business sounds good on paper, but it certainly has more than its share of drawbacks, doesn't it?
Basically, if we want to go diving and emerging wherever we like,
Yes?
well, we can't. Neither the border nor myself are up to that. At least not right now. Sorry, Gordy.
Ugh, sorry and sixpence won't get you a decent cup of tea these days. Fine. So you're saying you want a real lab with full facilities, right? Once we make our way through Scandinavia and meet up with the Wandering Sea, then things should improve at least a little, yes?
You got it. I'm glad you're such a quick study. So, as I was saying earlier, just kick back and enjoy the last bit of our voyage. We're currently off from real-world time by about 10 days. We'll emerge from void space as soon as we're through the storm wall. So then it's just like what happened in Russia. Then that would mean that one of those enormous trees really is here in Scandinavia too.
Indeed. We could see it for ourselves before we began our journey through the storm wall. If we just so happen to emerge near the Tree of Emptiness, we'll need to choose between leaving Scandinavia behind or investigating the tree. Regardless, we'll no doubt need to make our way across a considerable bit of land once we reach the inside of this Lostbelt. I encourage you all to remain calm and in control so that we may better react to whatever awaits us. Wonder if this Lostbelt will be anything like Russia's. Although, when the Russian Tree of Emptiness came crashing down, it did so in a rather indecipherable...
What was that?
Why are those radar beeps so loud? Something's pinging our omnidirectional sonar. What the... There's something with a fixed wavelength moving around. Something with a fixed wavelength? Do you mean there's something else here besides the shadow border?
Wait, what? Hold on, just hold on. You mean to tell me there's something alive out there? In void space?
Whoa. Indeed. Under normal circumstances, nothing could possibly exist in void space unless it were itself composed of void. There are exceptions, though. Namely, the all-terrain void transporter Shadow Border, its crew, and the Paper Moon. And that can only mean...
that there's someone or something else that can travel via zero sail.
If there were, it would require technology that surpasses Atlas's. I wish I could say that were entirely impossible, but we cannot rule it out. Da Vinci, are you seeing anything on your end? Your eyes should be a good deal sharper than ours.
I'm sorry, but I've got my hands full keeping track of the real world's terrain. I can't spare any cameras to see what might be near us. Oh, but I have noticed one thing that's strange. The shadow border's been running really smoothly for a while now. So there's definitely something out there in our vicinity. I just couldn't tell you what it is. The border's also got Magecraft and Spirit radars in addition to the sonar, but they're not turning anything up either. Since I can't imagine that there could be anything living in void space, I'm guessing that it's using soliton-like wave conduction, but...
We...
Director Gordolf?
We're under attack!
Oh, who was it that was saying the old man had gotten used to this stuff?
It must be some sort of monster or servant with the ability to zero sail. They could be anywhere.
Yes, that is a distinct possibility. Rasputin mentioned something along those lines too. As I recall, he said that while he was unable to freely move between Lostbelts, Koyanskaya could do so. It's difficult to imagine she employs the same method that we do, but she may well have her own means of crossing dimensions.
There, you see? You all saw Ivan the Terrible for yourselves. These Lostbelts are obviously full of monsters. It wouldn't surprise me at all if one of them was a rider with just that sort of skill.
Do you even hear yourself? This is void space. This whole dimension shouldn't even exist. There's no way there could be anything here besides the border. A creature or heroic spirit with the ability to conduct a zero sale, I know Ms. Miyamoto wanders between parallel worlds, but only in that she tumbles from one to another. She's only a drifter who keeps falling through realities because all other possibilities have abandoned her. There's no being in all of reality space besides us who can freely travel between dimensions. That, at least, was what Atlas Institute's Trimegistus said as of 2018. Still, it's not something that we can rule out entirely. That we are here ourselves means it must be possible for someone else to be as well. Couldn't you have kept that to yourself, Holmes? You're just gonna work the old man up even more.
Oh? Did it just get even closer?
Please, calm down, Director. I know this may not help put your mind at ease, but I think I sense something. Something close.
Is it anything we've seen before?
No, I don't think so, but strangely enough, I also don't think that whatever it is malicious. In fact, I think it might even be kind of warm and comforting.
Oh, come now. That's standard demon operating procedure. They bait their hook with kindness. Well, I'm not falling for it. I'm going to listen to my own instincts. Listen up, all of you. I have no desire to become an adventure-crazed nut like the rest of you, but even I can see that making an emergency exit out of void space is our best option here. Therefore, as the director of Caldia, I'm ordering the Shadow Border to make an immediate emergency exit into reality space.
An emergency exit? I do want to take Mesh's side here, but I have to admit Gordolf has a point. One thing's for sure, there's something out there that even I can't see. We shouldn't take that lightly. So my vote is for the emergency exit, and as luck would have it, we're very close to the end of the storm wall. That said, there is one thing I want to go over first. We've already crossed the border. We're currently in what used to be southern Sweden, somewhere inside the Scandinavian Lostbelt. But when we emerge, the risks will be even greater than they were back in Russia. Cutting out the future predictions in order to force our way back to reality could result in the entire Shadow Border coming apart. And it's not just the border, all of you could end up seriously hurt as well. If yourselves from 10 days ago happen to overlap with yourselves from now, just having your bodies catch up with your own regulatory functions will be enough to make you vomit. Are you okay if that ends up happening? Of course, as this vehicle's central processing unit, I'll be doing my best to avoid that.
Of course. At this point, a little nausea is nothing. Just get us the hell out of here, Da Vinci. I don't want to spend another second with this unknown thing if I can help it. I'm responsible for all of your lives here. As such, I refuse to continue a voyage in such close proximity to an unknown entity. Get the Shadow Border to the surface right now. Don't make me repeat myself again, just hurry.
Alrighty, if you're ready to face the music, I'll do my best to make sure it's a pleasant tune. Moonier, I'm going to switch over to manual. We don't want the safety functions putting on the brakes on autopilot. Are you serious? Doesn't that completely go against the manufacturer's recommendation?
She is the manufacturer.
Initiating high-speed calculations. Preparing to emerge in...
An emergency alert! Everyone strap in. Take deep breaths while you still can.
Don't worry about that alert. We're just putting a little more strain on the hull than it's designed for. Isn't that incredibly dangerous?
Don't worry, Da Vinci knows what she's doing.
Right. You're right. I do believe in her, Senpai. Whew. I really didn't want to resort to this. Since it gives me a bad fever, this new smaller body just isn't as resilient as my old one.
I'll do whatever I can to help. Patch me into the console if you would.
I'll help out too.
Thank you. I'm afraid I'm relegated to learning by observation myself, but the more hands the better. If only Mr. Babbage were here to assist us.
I hear you, but I'm afraid that the Spirit Origin briefcase alone just isn't enough to summon him outside of short battles. We'll just have to make do. Man, wouldn't it be great if another Salieri dropped into our laps right now? Like, say, now? Ah, damn, it didn't work. Oh well, worth a shot. Guess we're on our own after all. Alright then, let's do this thing. Activating Paper Moon. Initiating Planet Navigational Chart +- convergence. Commencing Shadow Borders docking sequence into Reality Boundary. Disengaging Mirror World Plane Voyage. Though the stratum may dissolve, I continue to exist. Reapplying Time Flow Attraction from Reality Space. 0.4 second difference between target coordinates and current recognition confirmed. That's well within tolerances, so we are good to go. Emerging from void space. 30 seconds until arrival at reality space. Zero sail complete. Emerging into reality space.
Budget! Computer animation. Well, there goes the budget. Lostbelt number 2, depth B+. 1000 BC, the eternal ice fire century, Gulterdamerong. The good fellow of everlasting flame. Welcome to Scandinavia, everybody. It's just as icy as Russia, god damn it. And here I thought we were finally going to be able to be warm. All right, let's head to the landing point.